Kerrey administration instead of the Trump administration. I just wanted to get a rise.
Meaning that I would have 2 ex-wives rather than 1, and 1's enough.
What would be in the Kerrey administration's 100-day plan to begin to address the long-term trends?
Well, with Social Security, I would do 2 things to Social Security. Because Social Security, it's relatively small changes in it to be able to keep the promise for everybody. It doesn't take that much. It's just that in today's environment, Republicans don't want to vote for any tax increase, no matter how modest, and Democrats don't want to vote for any future benefit reduction, no matter how modest. So we're all basically saying, Manana, what do I worry about 25 years from now? I'm getting elected in the fall. So I'll kick that can down the road because I'm not going to be around in the Congress for 25 years. So I would first of all say we have to fix Social Security. It's relatively modest. I think we should make it a bit more generous for low-wage workers. I think you have to solve the problem of widows who find themselves not eligible as they ought to be, in my view. There's a relatively small set of things that you could change. I would say to the Congress that we can eliminate poverty in 50 years. And poverty and income are not the same thing. I mean, I have friends who make more than $1 million a year. They're basically poor because they spend it all.
I asked you not to mention that.
Anyway, I would say what we have to do is begin saving at birth. We have 4 million babies born this year, every single year, and we should open an account for them and give them the advantage when they go into the workforce of saying, I now have a generation that I've been saving money. Because if you wait till you're 30 to start saving, it's okay. When you start saving at 30, with the idea of having it up in 35 years, the first thing in your mind is, oh my God, I just gave up 30 years. You wait till 40, it's difficult. You wait till 50, it's almost impossible. That's why the Powerball we got, whatever that number was. I mean, people hoping to hit the lottery, and with 1 in 159 million odds, that wasn't very likely. So I would say to Congress, let's set a goal of eliminating poverty in 50 years and help people accumulate. You can set it up in a fund with very low fees and make it relatively. Don't let it be taken out for a car, college, or in something else. It needs to stay there, so whenever you become eligible for Social Security, that can become a source of income. I think addressing that challenge, I personally would go beyond that. I think we have way too many Americans who don't understand the connection between obesity and bad health. I just came offhanding a commission on military retirement and compensation. A third of our high school graduates are too obese to join the military. That's a new phenomenon, and it's preventable. It's curable. You can change it, but it requires a substantial amount of will and change in behavior. The cynics will say, well, it's the one thing our schools do. At least they're producing obese kids when they graduate. Well, that's not what I would say a comforting accomplishment.
Why don't we shift gears a little bit?
With
the belief that we're all realistic about what's going to happen in Washington over the near term, and let's turn our attention for a second to private sector from kind of 2 points of view.
Right.
One, employers play a huge role in terms of preparing big chunks of the U.S. population, certainly for the future. And also, I love that you mentioned silver sneakers because another perspective on demographic change is the fact that there's a globally $7 trillion silver economy that's growing before our eyes as demographic changes drive the growth in industries ranging from financial services to housing, a range of healthcare-related industries. As you and now from your perch at Allen & Company, and you're meeting a lot of interesting companies who are looking at the longevity revolution as a commercial opportunity. I wonder if you'd sort of share some other things that you're seeing out there where private sector ideas and innovation are meeting the challenges.
Yeah, it's actually quite exciting. To stipulate this for the record so nobody accuses me of being naive, pie in the sky stuff, because it is one of those situations where you've got a glass half full and a glass half empty. Maybe it's a quarter full, 3/4, depending on how you measure it. But for men and women who have arrived at the age of retirement, when they're eligible now for Social Security, they begin to draw that Social Security. And who have not only saved money, but saved their bodies and taken care of themselves. Again, stipulating I'm not naive about it. I know certain jobs much, much harder on the physical body than others. But for those individuals, they're going to be spending money. They're spending money on universities, they're going to college, and either getting advanced degrees or learning things under the exciting moment where all of a sudden they can learn again. They're vacationing in different ways, or they're buying healthcare in different ways, or setting up retirement centers that look completely different than what we've had before. They're spending money in the not-for-profit world and volunteering. It's one of the things that oftentimes gets missed in the great political debates. Last year, $400 billion was given away by individuals, corporations, and foundations. That's more than the GDP of all but 15 or 16 countries, and a like amount given away in time. So I got time, I can volunteer now, I can participate, and I can tell you, Andy, I was injured in the Vietnam War, was in the Philadelphia Naval Hospital for 9 months, and there were lots of people that would come through on a voluntary basis that would come in and see me, and it made a difference in my life. It wasn't tax money being spent, but it was time well spent, because it increased the chances that I had the attitude necessary to survive. So there's a lot of volunteer activity that's going on in that senior community as well. So if you look at what they're able to do as a consequence of the sufficient amount of savings that they convert into non-employment income, you can see what could happen if we did more. If we made it more likely that those numbers went up over the course of the next 40 or 50 years.
When we talk about the longevity revolution, there's a tendency for all of us to think about impacts principally on people who are over 65 or over 70. But one of the things that I know we've talked about in the past is that many Americans, much earlier in their lives, are feeling the effects of demographic change. And one of the major ways is this growth in caregiving that's happening. And so many Americans find themselves now caring for maybe adult children who move back home with them after college, at the same time that they've got parents who are going through perhaps cognitive decline and dealing with other healthcare problems. And employers are grappling with this, and families are grappling with this. I'd love your thoughts on kind of caregiving.
Well, again, there's good things that are going on the public side, but on the private side, there's interesting things going on as well. The company called Honor that I've been working with, a young man who lives in California, he discovers that his mother, living in Connecticut, is having some difficulty. So he's got questions, how can I help my mom? So he starts this company, Honor. And I would say it's about 50% technology and 50% care workers that go into the home and at a relatively low cost and a very convenient fashion that assess some of the simple things. Are you eating right? Are you sleeping enough? Do you have pain? The basic things that are really important pieces of information to deliver, particularly to the healthcare professional. So that's Under Armour is a company that's relatively rapidly going to be moving into sophisticated, basically digital clothing that communicate to your physician. Cerner and a number of the EMR companies, electronic medical records company, are doing that as well. So that if you've been discharged from the hospital, let's say you've gone in for some kind of procedure, you've gone to the hospital, they now make it possible for you if you're in the mall and you're walking and getting your exercise and you become symptomatic and you have a question, should I go back to the hospital? They can solve that problem, again, using technology and care workers. So that's 2 or 3 examples, and there's lots of examples of that. And in some cases, the partners are the patients themselves. People who actually know what the problems are, what the need is. So I think, again, I think there's going to be on that glass half full side, there's going to be lots of private sector solutions that will supplement what's going on in the not-for-profit world and make more powerful whatever we decide we want to do on the public side. I think you really do need all 3 sectors: the not-for-profit world, the for-profit world, and the government. If you can get their interests aligned and get them working together, you can do a whole lot more than any one of those 3 by themselves.